Hi guys, this is Karie from An Eventful Year here in Aiken, South Carolina, and welcome to Lesson 2. Today I'm going to show you how to ice a cake and some basic shapes. For today's lesson, you're going to need a cake, a filling for your cake, the buttercream from Lesson 1, some decorating bags with various round and star tips, some decorating spatulas, a cake board, and if you want, a turntable, but it's optional. To begin, we're going to take some of our buttercream and just put a little blob of it in the center of our cake board. And we're going to take our first piece of cake and lay it in the center, and you want to press it down nice and tight so that you get a good seal. And what that does is it holds the cake on a little bit better, so when you start working with it, it's not sliding all over the place. Once you've got your first one on, you're going to level them off. Mine are very level at this point, but all you need to do is take a bread knife or a cake leveler, and you want a nice flat surface. You don't want anything with a little hump, or as we call them, camels. You're going to take your round tip and you're just going to do a nice thick line all the way around, just a medium pressure, and go all the way around the edge of your cake. And what this is called is torting. And it's going to help to keep your filling inside. For the next filling, you're going to need, you can use anything from pudding to buttercream. I'm going to be using the leftover blue that we made from our last class. And I'm just going to take a little bit with an angled spatula, and you put it in there. And you want to make sure that you don't put too much. You want it just enough, and you want to spread it out. You don't want it to be any higher than the tort that you put in here, because if it is, it's all just going to squirt out the sides. So go ahead and get that in there. And like I said, peanut butter is really good with chocolate if you have somebody that doesn't have food allergies. But just your basic buttercream, and it doesn't have to be any special color. I just happen to use the one so you could see it for display purposes. Once I've torted and filled, I'm going to take my other cake and I'm going to take it, and typically I'll do this if I've cut them, put the cut sides together. So I'm going to flip it over here, and I'm going to place my other cake on top and give it a nice push down. And you want to make sure that you get it so that it's even all the way around on your sides. This next part, some people like to use a decorating tip so you don't have to worry about crumbs in your cake, and you don't have to worry about getting extra equipment. You just need a spatula and your thin icing. And if you're not, go ahead and check out Lesson 1 because I explained it in detail. For our torted and filled cake, you're going to take your buttercream icing and put a whole bunch of it on top. And don't be afraid to use too much, because you can always take it off, but you can't add back into it without getting more crumbs on. So go ahead and put it all on there. And then you're going to take a spatula, and you're going to start from the center, and you're going to push your way out. And you want to go from the center out. That way you don't have to worry about going back and forth. The other thing that you want to do is you want to always go in the same direction. You never want to go back and forth, because when you do that, the chances that you'll bring the cake crumbs back into your cake is really high. So go all the way around. And as it starts to fall off over the sides, you'll just start to push it down this way. And again, remember what I said, always go in the same direction. As you go, you'll see your cake starts to, it doesn't look that pretty, you've got swirls all over the place, and that's okay. Because I'm going to show you a really cool trick on how to get it nice and smooth like the bakeries do. Once you've got the icing ready to go and you've got it pretty much spread out, you're just going to use your spatula and get it nice and even. Okay, and that's when the turntable comes in handy. I know a lot of people don't have them. Any excess icing you can scrape off into your bowl, but get it as evened out as possible. And then when you have an angled spatula, if you take the angle and point it out and just come all the way around and just hold it steady and use your turntable, or if you don't have a turntable, you can just go like this with your hand, that's fine, and just scrape off that excess. And then you, from the edge, you push those lumps that you've got into the center. Now, If you're home and you're making just a basic cake, you can go from here, just take your spatula and get this extra icing off the cake board. But if you're doing this for somebody else, you want that really smooth finish. Now I've, in the past, struggled over and over and over again with dipping my hot water knife back and forth. You get drips all over the counter, drips all over the cake. So for me, I like just a plain little squirt bottle with just some ordinary tap water. If you don't want tap water, you can use bottled water in it. But these work really great. You can get them at any local discount store, the dollar stores and so forth. And you just take a squirt and you spray the top of your cake and then spray the sides of your cake. And take your spatula and make sure it's nice and clean. And you just do the same thing you did. And you go over your cake and scrape off that excess. And it's going to smooth it out. Once you've got it smooth the way that you want it, and this is not perfect, but for today, this is about where you're going to be the first time you do it. If you can do it better, hey, great. When you're done, you're just going to set this aside and let it get a little bit of a shell on it. It's going to get firm, and that's exactly what you want. When you practice, you're going to want to use some kind of decorating bag with tip 18, 21, 16, or 14. 18 and 21 are going to give you the best size, but any one of them will work. I also like to use a sheet of parchment paper to practice on, because when you're done, you can just take it, crumble it up, and throw it away. Now, something that I like to explain to students when I have them in a classroom environment is if you hold your arm out too long, you start to get shaky. Or if you just have tendencies to be a shaky person, I like to hold my bag and then support my right hand with my left. Or if you're lefty, you want to support your left hand with your right. And you're going to start a star, you want to be about 1/4 of an inch from the surface of your parchment paper or your cake. And you gently squeeze, stop squeezing, and lift away. Now what happens is it's going to give you the size and you'll be consistent. Eventually you're going to get to a point where they're all going to be the same size over and over and over again, and it takes practice. So if they don't look perfect the first time, you know, they kind of do one of these, or if you're up too high and it's like this, or you're down too low and it looks real flat, don't be discouraged. Practice makes perfect. Even I had to start somewhere. So just a nice steady pressure over and over and over again, and you'll get consistent. The next piece that you're going to want to learn how to do is put these shapes in a grouping. And you'll start by doing a line, and you want them to touch just enough so that when you go back and forth, they're filling in. Now you see, this is our first one and this is our second one. So our first one on our next row is going to be down below in the center between the two, and you just want to keep going. When you're done, if you look through, you see here, it's all grouped and you can't see the surface. But over here, if you're too far apart, you're going to end up with space like this, and you'll be able to see the cake surface through. So you want to make sure that you're nice and tight. Now, one of the things that you might want to do is, if you see those licensed character pans from certain companies, they have instructions that you want to outline. So I'm going to do just a basic circle with my writing tip so that you can see how to fill in a shape. Okay, and I'm going to do it in a different color so you can see what happens. You always want to work from the outside in, so you're going to do your stars, and you're going to go around the circle or square or whatever shape it is that you're filling in. When you're close to the end and you're ready to complete your fill in, you can take smaller circles, and there you go. The next thing I want to show you are dots. Now, a lot of people have difficulty with these because they don't understand how not to make it look like one of those little chocolate kisses, and I'm going to show you how. So come on down here, and you always want to start with a nice clean tip, and this one is a tip 12, and you want to use that and start, like I said, clean. You're going to hold your tip straight up and down about 1/4 of an inch from the surface. You're going to squeeze until the dot is the size that you want. Stop squeezing, and whatever you do, don't pull up. See what happens? You end up with a little tail there. You want to squeeze, you want to stop squeezing, and you want to roll out to the side. And see what happens? You have that nice perfect dot. Let's do another one. Stop squeezing and roll it out to the side. Now, if you end up where you have this little bit of a tail, there's a cheat. You can take a paintbrush and just nice light damp brush, and you can actually brush that tail away. So that's a cheat. If you can do them right, you don't have to worry about that. But sometimes when you're in a rush and you want to do a whole bunch of them, and the same thing if you want to do a chain of dots. So your chain of dots, you're just going to do one right after another, and you want to get them so that they touch, and you want to get consistent. Now if you start seeing this and you take that paintbrush and you go to clean it up, it's not necessarily going to work. See what's happening there? So you want to make sure that you get it. You still have to go out to the side, and that's that tiny little dot that you can just move away. Now the good thing about this is you can do this with a tip 12, 10, 11. You can actually do these with tip 1. You can do different sizes as well. Using tip 12, you can hold it in place a little bit longer and get a giant dot. Stop squeezing and out to the side. And this is going to be used in subsequent lessons when we start to do the rose and when we do some other flowers. And one of the things that you can do here is you can actually make a little pig or a teddy bear, and I'm happening to use pink, but we've got, you know, that mouse from Orlando and Los Angeles. But you can do a little bear just with a few dots here and there. And now I'm going to take this from our practice sheet and we're going to show you how to do it on the cake. Okay, I've got my star tip back on here. Again, this is tip 18. And you're just going to come in and remember the stars that we did, and you can go a little bit bigger, and you just go and do your chain around the base of your cake. It makes a really cute basic beginning border. And then you can come up top and do them up here as well. And what's really great is if you can get them size consistent, you can actually go back and forth and alternate colors so that you can skip a space and then go back and fill it in. Now remember I told you that you could use any size. To do the dots, I'm actually using a tip 3 here. And I like to come in just right on the side and you do your dots. And you can do them. They look really cute on the side of a cake. And if you're not sure how to get the distance, your best bet is to just go a little bit at a time, and you can go in between. And there you go. So you got your dots all the way around. Now in lesson 3, we'll be doing some more borders and working with the dots a little bit more. Thanks for watching. Make sure that you like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel so you know when lesson 3 borders is available.